Hello, everybody out there in social media land. My name is Danielle Dion, and I'm here with No Violence for Kids Canada. And I am coming to you from the treaty territory of the Tsawwassen Nation, home of the Semiahmoo and Kaqua people, and who have been here forever before me, nurturing this land. I believe in their truth, and as a settler, I take reconciliation as my responsibility. And in doing that, I am with No Violence for Kids Canada, and we are urging the Canadian government to repeal Section 43, which is Call to Action 6 of the Truth and Reconciliation Action Report. And please find out more about Section 43 and Call to Action 6. We urge everybody to find out more about childhood violent discipline and have these conversations at home. We need public pressure. That's our next step to move this forward. So please like, share, comment, and be a part of everything we're doing here. This video today is part of a video series to take deep dives into understanding childhood violence and in part of our advocacy in unpacking what is in the way. Why is it that Canada still has legal punishment for children, legal violent punishment for children? Today, I'm so excited to take on this next video. Today, I have a friend joining me, and Sven Fuchs is all the way here from Germany, live today. And he has been working as an advocate for children for over 20 years. And in that work, in sociology, he's been working really hard to understand more, just like myself, around childhood violence. And he wrote a book called Childhood is Political. And is that not the truth? It's a very relevant conversation today. We are going to look more at some kind of eerie conversations around extremism and terrorism and dictators, and find out more about what were these people like as children. What was it like for them? And this is important for us because as we unpack Section 43, we want to really protect kids. And we recognize when kids grow up in a safe home, that societies are more peaceful. So it makes sense why Sven has written this book. So I want to welcome Sven, and he's going to present a presentation, a lecture that he's prepared for us all to really take a deeper dive in understanding what he means by childhood is political. So welcome,
Yeah.
Sven.
Thanks. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm looking forward for it. I will start promptly here with my presentation. Could you? What do I have to do?
I got you here, Sven. I got you here.
There we are. Yeah. First, I have to say the whole presentation is online. I will share this link later here in the chat. There will be a lot of information, data, statistics, and biographies in the presentation. I don't have the time to read everything, so I will give an overview. Yeah. Later, hopefully, my kind Gabriella from Italy will join. She's a translator. Because I find myself brave doing this today with my school English. Yeah, but it will work. Yeah, let's start. So I like to start with some basic information. What you see here is the extent of corporal punishment to 2 to 4 year olds, and within 4 weeks. And look at the very dark red fields, for example. There are about 77 to 85% of the children experience physical violence within 4 weeks in this region. And the same picture regarding emotional violence, like shouting, yelling, calling the kids dumb, lazy, useless, and so on. And you see, the whole African region, Middle East, South Asia, there you find the most violence against children. So, and here, for example, some problem states, problem because of wars, terrorism, social problems, and so on. You see, the most children in these countries experience violence within 4 weeks. And a lot of children experience severe violence within 4 weeks, from a quarter in Syria to 43% in Yemen.
Sorry to interrupt you. Can you clarify what you mean by within 4 weeks?
Within 4 weeks, the data is from UNICEF, and they asked the caregivers, "What did you do to your children in the last 4 weeks?"
Awesome, so, thank you.
So this data is not for the whole childhood. The rates, the violent rates for the whole childhood will be more.
Yeah? Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's okay when you interrupt me. no problem.
I might do that.
Yeah. So for me, this kind of countries are traumatized countries, traumatized societies, just because of this. And this is one thing, one part of childhood, only one part. Among other things, there's child marriage, poverty, and so on. So, but these countries are traumatized countries. So, and for me, the United States is a kind of problem state too, not only because of the Donald Trump presidency. I don't know how to say it. Look at all the wars they did and so on.
Right. So through the Trump presidency, are you saying?
Presidency, yes, that's the name.
There you go.
It's difficult to say it for me. The drug epidemic in the USA and so on. And the most important information here is on the right. Every 6th US American belong to the high-risk group with regard to health problems. Wow. The high-risk group, they have 4 or more ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. Hopefully the most of you will know what it means. It's not only about abuse, it's about witnessing violence, mental illness in the household, and so on. And every 6th American means the United States is a traumatized society, right?
Yes, and that's an incredible statistic. So every 6 Americans.
It's unbelievable.
It makes sense why they love guns, or why there's so much.
Of course,
this
is a connection.
Yeah.
And the ACEs studies are all about physical abuse, not about spanking. Yeah. This is another survey here, another study.
Yeah.
And you see a positive trend. That is good.
Yes.
But if you look at the left, you see the age group 2 to 4 year olds. The years 75 to 95. The most children in the US had been spanked, and today that they are all grown up. They are adults, and they are doing their daily lives, the politics, the economic, the media, and so on. That is important to know.
Are you saying Republicans are spankers?
There are some studies. You can say the more conservatives the people think, the more they spank children. Yeah. You can say, but Democrats too. So it's it's in the whole U.S. problem.
Yeah.
And this is a kind of idol in the world. Sweden. No other country has shown such a rapid decline in the rate of violence. It's impressive.
Very impressive.
The chart speaks for itself, I think. And in Germany, we have a positive trend too. You see here the trend in the year 2015. That's the date of the survey. Only 60% don't experience violence at home, but this is the birth cohort from the year 2000. The young people who were asked here were about 15 years old. So you have to count back. Yeah. And this is the only ACEs study in Germany. I will not read all. I said it. It's too much information. But the important thing here is on the right again. In Germany, every 11th German belongs to the high-risk group with 4 or more ACEs.
Wow, that's almost half. That's almost half. The United States is double.
Yeah, it's a huge number too in Germany, but not that big like in the US. And of course, we have another mood in Germany, another politic, and so on. Yeah.
Right. Well, it's been 20 years since Germany banned corporal punishment. So I'm glad to see over time, I'm imagining that those ACEs scores are going to go down when there's less childhood violence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Now we come to Canada. And this is from Canada. You see here about a quarter of the Canadians experience physical abuse.
Yeah.
And if you look at sexual abuse, so you could say about 30% experience physical or sexual abuse in Canada. This is from a very big study. Yeah.
Thank you for bringing up Canada, because that's where I'm coming from, and I know that's where a lot of people that are watching this video are likely from. And I think I just want to really highlight what you said there.
There will come more.
Oh, there's more. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt you, Daniel.
Oh, absolutely.
One point is, I have so much slides, and I thought it will take 30 minutes. Let us do the questions afterwards, okay?
Okay.
It's okay. Sorry, but I'm looking to the time. It's yeah.
No worries. Keep going.
If you have an important thought, just do it. But yeah, we have to hurry. We have to hurry. So this is a positive trend in Canada too. Yeah, the left side. It's very impressive. And also at the right side, there are some 2 other studies. One said here about a quarter of the Canadian parents spanked their child in the previous months, and another survey here from the state of Manitoba. You say
Manitoba.
Manitoba. The violent rates in Manitoba are a bit higher. Maybe it's because it's a not urban place. In not urban places. The research say is much more. There's much more violence against children. Yeah, wow. But that's only a guess. And here another positive trend in Canada and Quebec. So Canada is on its way. Yeah, and it's bad and good. Bad because a lot of children still experience violence in Canada, and good because you are under 50%. That is a huge step in the evolution of childhood. Then I guess we come from 100%. And there are not a lot of countries in the world where under 50% of children experience violence in the home. So Canada is kind of idle. Yeah, 2. And bad, of course, a lot of children are still suffering. Yeah, this is the only ACEs study in Canada I found. It's an older age group here, and there are about every 10th Canadian is the high risk group for 4 or more ACEs. Yeah, this is a very important study, a very big study. Analysis of ACEs has found that adults who were exposed to 4 or more ACEs were 7 to 8 times more likely to be involved in interpersonal violence, and 30 times more likely to attempt suicide than adults with no ACE exposure. Wow, it's an impressive study here. Yeah. A short look at the cost. ACEs cost a lot. You can save a lot of money if you prevent ACEs. So I have to drink something. So now we come to the violence behavior. Yeah? This study is from Scotland, a high-risk group, a young high-risk group, regarding violent behavior, drug abuse. And in the text, the researcher said about extremism too. And the high-risk group is a gray bar here, and the general population in Wales is the blue bar. Yeah, this chart speaks for itself. And similar to this, you see in Florida, United States, young offenders compared with insured adults, and the young offenders have very high ACEs scores compared with the adults. Yeah. This study is from Germany. It's a very impressive study too. And it's the dark gray bars is this is young people who did not experience violence and had a high level of parental care. And the message is clear: the more violence experience, the lower the level of parental care, the more violent the young people become, the more drugs they use, the more attempt suicide, the lower the life certification. Similar to this, a very big study from Germany, and the same message: the more violence the children experience in childhood, the more violent the young people become, and the more suicide attempt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the research is very clear. And interesting is this is from Germany too. The same picture for extremist attitudes. The more violence they experience, the lower the level of parenting care, the more extremist attitudes.
Wow.
And there's another survey from Berlin, Germany, regarding right-wing extremism and left-wing extremism. The same picture. I have analyzed the biographies of 17 RAF terrorists. RAF is a left-wing terrorist group in Germany from the 70s. And don't be afraid, you see a lot of text. I will not read it. The important message here is you see a lot of text. That means it's about multiple ACEs. Multiple ACEs, not only one thing in childhood, multiple ACEs. For example, Ulrike Meinhof is the founder and leader of this group. And she had a childhood during the war. Her father died early. Before that, the parents had a lot of argues and problems in the relationship. The mother was suicidal. And after the death of the father, the mother had given Ulrike away to children homes and relatives during the Nazi time. And then her mother died, and Ulrike said, the whole world died when her mother died for her.
Aww.
And then there was neglect by the foster mother, a very traumatized child. Yeah. That's only an example. You see the other names here. You can read it if you like afterwards in peace.
Yeah, in the chat we are sharing the slide.
In the chat we are sharing the link to the presentation afterwards. And this study is from Germany too, about 16 cases, left-wing terrorists. And the picture is the same. A lot of punishment, especially by the father. And the lower the class, the status, the more abuse, foster families, children homes, and so on. And I have collected 34 studies, the most are from Germany, where right-wing extremists were interviewed. And it's overwhelming. In general, they had destructive childhoods. Yeah. And if you like, you can read in detail in my blog. I've discussed most of the studies in my blog in German, but the blog is there's a possibility to translate it in English if there is any researcher who is interested in it. So 3 studies I will present here. The first one from Germany, 39 extremists. Not a single one came from an intact family. About a half reported domestic violence. And the researcher here, and this is very important, say the extremist group was a kind of family substitute for these people. They were looking for friendship, for family, for good feelings, for security. And that was the reason, not the politic. Yeah? Not the it's not the extremist view. And this study is from the United States, 44 former members of right-wing extremist group. You see the ACEs scores here. It's horrible, yeah. Almost every 43% physical abuse, witnessing violence, and so on and so on. And a very important message here is the mental health issue about suicide. Over 50% attempting suicide or seriously considering suicide. So, so self-destruction and destruction of other people, the two belongs together. Yeah. And the same picture here from another study from the United States. You see the numbers here. It's very high ACEs scores of this group.
These are from organized hate groups.
Organized hate groups, yeah. This is a big case, and this was a big case in Germany. Terror trio. They killed a lot of people, bombings, bank robberies, and so on. And for two of the trios, there's evidence for a very traumatic childhood. Beate Zschäpe, for example, had a mother who was an alcoholic, and there was a neglect, absent father, and so on. And Uwe Böhnhardt, his brother died when Uwe was 11, and the brother was left dead on the family doorstep by strangers.
Oh my goodness!
It's very traumatic, very traumatic. And after that, he spent some time in a children's home, and when he got in prison at a 15-year-old, he suffered sexual abuse. So very traumatic. And all this don't excuse everything, okay? It's all, but we have to go to the ground, we have to prevent violence. We have to take a look at the childhoods of these people.
That's where justice lies.
This was two big cases in Germany too. The attempt murder of Cologne Major Henriette Reker and the murder of Kassel government president Walter Lübcke. Both offenders were abused, badly abused as children, neglect and so on. I guess every one of you know who this guy is. Anders Breivik, we say in German, I don't know in English. And he had written an online manifest, and he had written, "I haven't really had any negative experiences in my childhood in any way." What a sentence. It's a very good childhood, he said. A typical Norwegian middle-class family. This is his sister and his mother. He had this picture in the manifest. And there was, the Breivik case is a lesson for violence extremism research, because there was a coincidence, a 3-week inpatient admission as a 4-year-old. And his childhood is the opposite of that, what he said. It's a nightmare, a totally nightmare. Abuse by the mother, neglect by the mother. The mother told her son that she wished he was dead. The mother had a borderline disorder, and so on, and so on. And the same picture here from for Brandon Tarrant, the keyword here is Christchurch, the Christchurch shooting in Australia.
The Christchurch shooting, that was very big.
Yeah, sorry.
Just a couple years ago.
My English.
I got you.
He killed live a lot of people.
Right.
And he had, like Private, had written an online manifest, and there he said, "I had a regular childhood without any great issues. Everything was fine." No? And the opposite is the truth. You see here very traumatic events, abuse, bullying in school, the father died, and so on, and so on. And this is an example for the identification with the aggressor. Terry, a member of a Nazi group in Detroit, and she said, "We lived with my grandparents till I was 6. So really, my grandfather's, my main father really, did all the necessary, like when it came to spanking and things. He did it, and I'm his little girl.
Oh,
In my understanding, she's saying spanking is good. It's
it's
kind
good.
of, it's a kind of love, kind of education. So it's identification with the aggressor. It's typical classic. You find this.
Stockholm syndrome.
You often find this kind of messages. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I have to drink something. One moment. And this is what what is important for me to say. You have to be careful with what these people say about their childhood.
Right.
When they say, "Oh, everything was fine, everything was good," or they say, "Yeah, spanking is not abuse," and so
Yeah.
you have to be very careful when you are when you do research and when you read biographies and so on. One moment, I wonder why Gabriella is not here, and
She is here.
She is here. That's
She
fine.
is
Okay.
here. I just can only put,
Afterwards.
would you
Yeah.
like Gabriella on the
No.
screen with you or me? Because I can only put 2 people on the screen.
Okay, so we can when after the lecture
I'm happy to have her here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
And this is another example, the Charlie Hebdo shooting in France. So both brothers had a very traumatic childhood. It's about physical abuse by the father, the early death of the father, mother, the neglect, and the mother died at children's home. And at my blog, I've analyzed a lot of childhoods of extremists, not that well-known names. A lot of people from Germany, extremists from Germany, and you find this again and again: abuse, neglect, the death of parents, and so on. Children's home. It's a similar picture, yes. And I've analyzed the childhoods of 25 Nazi leaders. And again, you see a lot of text. It's again about multiple aces, a lot of events, bad events in the childhood of these perpetrators. Yeah, I will not read it. For example, here, Josef Mengele, the Auschwitz doctor, both parents hit him, beat him, and there was a neglect and so on.
Oh.
For example. And I did not find any evidence of a non-violent upbringing in the child of any of the above-mentioned Nazi perpetrators. Yeah. You know Adolf Eichmann, and this is an example here, and he had written his memoirs in prison, and even in Germany, the most people don't know it. They don't know anything about his childhood. And he had said it's very clear here. It's a strict upbringing by the father. Very severe upbringing. And when you are reading the original text in German, for me it sounds like there was physical violence. Yes, he don't say it very clear, but though, and it's about obedience. It's about a strict stepmother, and it's about the early death of his mother when he was 10. So it's trauma. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have analyzed a lot of dictators, all well-known names.
Wow.
You see a lot of yeses here regarding physical and emotional violence, and a lot of text again. It's again about multiple aces. So, for example, Adolf Hitler, it is well known that Adolf Hitler was abused by his father, badly abused, almost daily, his sister said. What is not well known are all the deaths in the family. There were 2 dead children before Adolf was born in the family. His infant brother Otto died when Adolf was 3. His younger brother Edmund died when Adolf was 10. His father died when he was about 13. And his mother died when he was 18. And then he go to World War I. So this man is absolutely traumatized. Absolutely traumatized.
Massive grief.
And here you see some question marks, but for example, Bokassa from the Central African Republic, 2 question marks. But when he was 6 years old, his father was executed by a nail in the head. And his mother then committed suicide, and the family left 12 children. This is a very traumatic childhood and event. And as you maybe remember the chart I've shown at the beginning about the Central African Republic,
Yeah.
the most children experience violence and severe violence in Central African Republic. And the probability that Bokassa experienced violence is very high, right? And for Robert Mugabe, for example, he experienced violence by the mother, and there was a special thing here. He had to thank her mother for being beaten. You have to, his brother said this, and you have to imagine you are a little child, and there's a big mother in front of you and beat you, and you have to thank her. This is torture. Torture, yeah?
Very much.
And he experienced the death of 2 of his older brothers, separation of the parents, depression by the mother his mother, exclusion from other children. A lot of US American presidents were physically abused as a child.
Wow.
Among other things, for example, the father of Clinton, Reagan, and Johnson were alcoholic. The father for Clinton, the stepfather of Clinton, was violent against his wife, and he tried once to shoot her, and the bullet hit the wall between his mother and Bill. He had written this in his memoirs. Yeah?
Wow.
Very traumatic. And of course, you can imagine the childhood of Donald Trump was very traumatic too. He had 2 strict parents, absent parents. There was neglect. There was punishment, corporal punishment by the father. And a very important point here is he witnessed frequent fatherly humiliation against his older brother.
Oh.
And the brother became an alcoholic and died early. And at the age of 13, Donald was sent to a strict military boarding school, and there was a lot of punishment, humiliation, and beating. And this is a very important point here. Of course, not every abused child become a person like Donald Trump. That's very, very clear. Yeah, okay. You need the power. You have to be male. In our society, you have to be male. You have the genetic and so on, the environment. But his brother became an alcoholic and died early. So the impact of ACEs, there are thousands ways. And to become a person like Donald Trump is one way. To become an extremist is one way. To become an alcoholic or drug addict or to do suicide and so on is another point. Yeah, that's what it's all about. And of course, it's very topical, the childhood of Putin. There was abuse by the father. There was neglect, a stern, harsh upbringing. Both parents were deeply traumatized by the war. So it's about transgenerational trauma. And he was bullied at school. He had an outcast status. And today, I don't know, you can see it here. Today, I received this biography in German. And there's another point in this one here. His mother didn't want a child.
Oh.
The father wanted a boy. Sure. So she agreed, but she didn't want. Putin was an unwanted child.
Oh.
And there's another point. You see it below. There's an article from a famous German newspaper. It's like the Times, also, or it's like the New York Times. So it's a famous one in Germany. And this article is in English here, online for free. And the question there is: are Putin's parents his really parents? There's some evidence that his really mother was Vera Putina, and this would mean a lot of trauma. Additional.
Yeah.
So we will come to the end now. That's I'm that short from the end. New forms of political radicalization. It's topical in the Western world, especially in Canada. You have the trucker demonstrations there, the
Yes,
freedom convoy. So it's about the COVID epidemic and politics.
Right.
And this is the first study who connect ACEs with the COVID attitudes.
Oh, nice.
And the more ACEs experience, the lower the trust in the COVID information, the lower the trust in the COVID politics. The more they are again face shields and so and they are against the vaccine.
Yeah, the vaccine.
The vaccine, sorry.
Yeah.
So the connection is very impressive here. Yeah.
So the higher the ACEs, the more likely you're going to be a freedom convoy.
Yeah, and freedom, of course. What is when you were a child with no freedom, with parents who beat you and so on? There was no freedom, and then the father state, the mother state, say you have to do this, you have to do that, and of course there are pictures in the head like, what do father state? What is father state doing there? I have to fight for my freedom, and yeah, that's what it's all about, I guess.
Yeah, I have some guesses too. We could talk for days about that.
So, and of course, not every abused and humiliated child becomes a violent offender. I said it, but however, ACEs form the foundation for massive destructiveness in adulthood. That can be expressed in different ways.
Yeah.
Like I said it, alcohol and so on. And of course, we have to reduce ACEs. We have to reduce violence to prevent political violence. And we have to help children who were abused with psychotherapeutic aids and so on. This would be the kind of solution. And this is my favorite quote. I will not read it, but the main message here is child protection has become a question of survival for men. Yes. And a short attachment, please also consider the risk factor gender. The most violent outside the home is from male, especially regarding extremism, mass shooting, and so on. Yeah, I'm finished. And
can you go back to your favorite quote there? I'd like you to read
my favorite quote. Yeah, that's my favorite quote. That was a professor in Germany. I had the luck to see some of his lectures at the University of Hamburg. Yeah, it's the quote. Shall I read it? Or?
Yes, please. Please read it.
The more children here and around the world are neglected, beaten, humiliated, and slide into hopelessness and hatred, the higher the destructive potential in our own country and worldwide. Against this background, child protection has become a question of survival. Worldwide child protection is the ideal way to prevent not only mental suffering, but also crime, militarism, and terrorism. It ensures democracy, and peaceful culture and economic exchange. It takes all of our creativity and determination to make this happen. If we all wanted this in a unique act of solidarity, we would have the knowledge and the means.
Wow.
It's very strong, huh?
Very powerful quote. That's right.
Very powerful. Yeah, it's my favorite quote. I use it a lot in Texas.
Wow. So is this the end of your presentation?
This is the end, and I'm totally finished.
Excellent. I'm going to add Gabriella to the chat in a quick second.
Fine.
Here we have her joining us here, and I'm going to just
hi, Gabriella.
You over
hi,
From Italy.
Hi, Danielle.
Hello. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Good. Welcome. I'm so happy to have you here, Gabriella. It's wonderful.
I'm so happy to be here.
You are live from Italy?
Yep.
Live from Italy. So I'm just going to bring Sven back. I'm trying to work this out, how this all goes like this. So I'm going to have actually you and Sven on the screen together. Look, there we go.
Yay!
So, as I said, my German is my school, my English is my school English. Of course, I have my lecture is not the problem. So when there's any question here and I will have a problem with the translation, Gabriella will help. Thanks for that.
You're welcome. Comments in the chat that I just would like to just speak to. I know Kel Campbell was watching, and he said thank you for doing this. Later on, if there's time for a question.
Welcome.
Yeah, he said that he saw a Texas school that sings a song about scalping Indians, and they also sang the song as part of a cheerleading demonstration at Disneyland. And he wants to know your comment about that.
So this one, I didn't get it. Gabriele, can you say it in German?
Ja, es gibt zwei Geschichten, eine in Texas und eine irgendwo anders, habe ich jetzt vergessen, in den USA, wo in den Schulen gesungen wird, diese alte Geschichten von den Indianern, die gescalpt wurden und so weiter und so fort.
Okay.
Und aber Disneyland, genau, Disneyland und in einer Schule in Texas. Und das passiert noch heute. Und was meinst du dazu?
It's insane. What should I say about it? It makes no sense. And
in your research,
of course, childhood impacts everything. It's about compassion. It's about empathy and so on. And to sing a song like this, it means there's no compassion, and there's a problem with your feeling and so on. And of course, childhood might be a cause here. Yeah,
I agree with you, and I worry about the people down in Texas.
Yeah,
and I'm sure you found in your research how they have a long way to go in recognizing how harmful it is to be violent with children. Yeah. So hearing that it's from Texas didn't surprise me. It breaks my heart to hear the comments about Indigenous people at Disneyland. And I think Disneyland could be more responsible too.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. There is another comment. Are the statistical slides able to be shared? Can you tell us more where that will be, Sven? So on your blogs?
Okay. I will do it now. One moment. I will share it in the chat.
If you can, but
if you can, hopefully. One moment.
Yeah. Sven, I have a question.
Do you see it?
No.
That's a link to the whole presentation with all the data and the references and so on.
Okay, good. You can see them, Gabriella? You can see
yes, it's in English as well.
It's in English.
It's a Google Drive file. It's a PowerPoint presentation, and it's public. It's a public link.
It's a public link. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I think you went into the private chat, so let me change that over. That's actually the chat between the three of us.
So you need to copy it.
Okay. Yeah, you can copy it.
I think I got it. There we go. I don't know if that will come up. But what we'll do too is we will share that in when the video goes live as well. I do have a couple questions about your presentation, Sven. First off, thank you so much for putting that together and all of the work that you're doing. It's an impressive collection of literature review that you've been doing, and I can really tell your passion. It was surprising to see that you said no extremist, no dictator had a non-violent history. It's surprising and sickening, and also connecting us to the future right now in the war in Ukraine. And
Yes.
I know that's close to your home. When you think about, I just want to talk a little bit more about Putin. Can you just highlight more about his childhood for us beyond the presentation? What are you learning?
Yeah, he was, additionally, I have to say, he was very violent as a kid. He was a kind of a hooligan, and he was a kind of a street boy, because his parents didn't care. The whole day he was on the street and involved in fights. But this is not only about Putin. At that time, it was common in St. Petersburg.
Okay.
So that's my point too. It's what we see in Russia today, in the Ukraine war, is not only about Putin and his childhood. It's about the childhood of his other leaders. It's about childhood in Russia. It's about a lot of humiliation and a lot of problems. When you look at the history of Russia, they don't know what democracy is. They don't know what peace is, and they, it's a traumatized society. Russia is a very deep traumatized society at all, and it's not only about Putin. It's about people who are silent, to don't say anything, and they are like, I don't know, Gabriela, Mitläufer. Was heißt Mitläufer in English?
People who follow, followers.
Yeah, followers. Easy. It's kind of an English lesson for me. And yeah.
So in general, the society in Russia, like what I'm hearing you say, they don't know democracy, they don't know peace. It's not just about Putin. Putin grew up in a society where it was acceptable for violence and
Yes.
to be inflicted on children. He grew up on the street, and that was common in St. Petersburg.
And the interesting thing is that the Ukraine have found another way. They banned corporal punishment. In Russia, it's allowed to spank and children, and they try to become democratic, and they go to the EU and Western style and so on.
Okay.
It's like in the mind. It's like a child. It's like people think in family pictures. Russia is a kind of the strict father, yeah, and the child Ukraine, or the younger brother Ukraine, try to become free and do her thing and so on. It's to be not to be independent. So, and it's like in a family with a strict father, when there's a kid who is do this his own thing and so on. There will come punishment by the father.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a more psychoanalysis thing or something on. Yeah, there's a researcher, I don't know the exact name, Lekhoff, I guess. Lekhoff, he's researching about these pictures from the family pictures in societies and states, no?
Yeah. Sven, can you connect more about how, I loved your quote so much. It really made sense about how you and I always talk about, and I'm sure Gabriela too, about how early childhood is setting the stage for peace in the bigger picture. I always say the first intervention for childhood mental illness should be how their parents manage everyday stress. And what we've seen here is a plethora of really traumatized people. And I might add mostly men. So I didn't see a lot of women in your presentation. So I do want to recognize the violence that these men are perpetrating. And that's an interesting, alarming statistic with that. Do you have anything to say about peace, generally society, and why are these all men?
Yeah, we are living in a, I don't know how it is in English, patriarchale Welt, Gabriela?
A patriarchal society.
Thank you.
I was hoping you meant
But the mothers, the women are very important. They are raising the children, and women do a lot of abuse, more than the fathers. The most studies say women beat more like fathers, and they have other forms to humiliate children. Female thing, so more emotional violence and so on. So I come from the Psychohistorical Society in Germany, and maybe you have heard from Lloyd de Moors, and he said the women are the key factors in history because they were raising the children, and so how childhood went, society goes.
I guess so. I see that too, and I think it's an interesting, in society, how much were women a part of all of this violence. And I know that they're raising men, but underneath the patriarchy, I'm not so much sure how much choice that they had. It's an interesting conversation and taking us a little bit away from where I want to go. I do have another comment though. Lucien Lombardo has made a comment. What links do you see between this work and earlier descriptions and analysis by Alice Miller, who is one of my all-time favorites? So thank you, Lucien, for bringing up Alice Miller into this conversation. So Sven, do you see any links between this work and Alice Miller's work?
My work is built above Alice Miller. Without Alice Miller, I would not be here. So,
exactly, I'm with you there.
Sadly, is that Alice Miller proved her own thesis because you know about what she did about her own son.
Yeah, there's lots of reports.
There were a lot of trauma, and it's a nightmare. So, like Gabriela, Alice Miller konnte nicht aus ihrer Haut. Sie war ein traumatisiertes Kind und sie hat zugelassen, dass ihr Kind hochtraumatisiert wurde.
So Alice Miller herself was a traumatized child, and she could not get out of her own trauma, so that she allowed that her own son, her only son, be traumatized by her husband, his father.
Yeah. And her writing and her work is so inspirational. It really, truly is. Without her, I don't know I could be here either.
So this is some important factor. Why is the whole topic is so important? The people have to know the impacts of ACEs and how important childhood is. So they have to do something for themselves. When you are an abused child, you have to do psychotherapy. You have to be careful with yourself. You have to care for help and so on. And my idea is this have to be in school for 16-year-olds. So they have to. We are talking with kids in the school about drug abuse, sex, and crime and so on. And in Germany about World War II, and we see films with all the dead bodies in the school, but we don't talk about child abuse. it's unbelievable. So we have to talk with the kids about child abuse at the age about 16 in school, at a regular basis, and
absolutely, and children need to know their rights early on.
That will prevent a lot of suffering. So
I agree. There is another question. I know that Lucien tried to connect, or a question connecting this work and neurobiology of trauma and neglect and childhood behaviors that derive from coping and trauma. So I think we'll just, that's ACE's study. In looking at the effects on the brain and the outcome of trauma. I mean, that is a grand study. And from that study, research how our brains are affected by early childhood trauma is pretty much making the movement around gentle parenting and taking away punitive parenting in all kind of forms, psychologically, physical, all of that. We're just recognizing now the effects on all kinds of even behavior intervention. So great question, Lucy. And the next one, is Russia like the American South, which was highly traumatized by the American Civil War?
Yeah.
Southern literature in the US dwells on these themes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is this a question? I don't get it.
Yeah. So is Russia like the American South, which was highly traumatized by the Civil War?
So the two societies are similar and at some point, but I would say the Russian society is more traumatized. In the United States, you have a lot of groups, psycho groups. It's difficult in the United States, and I have been in the United States as I was 21, and I traveled through the country for 3 months, and my recognition, it depends on the place. In the South, it's a different mood, as in Seattle or in the Northeast. It's totally different.
For sure. The area in the States definitely is wide and broad, and every state, because of its republic, has different laws around violence.
And there's a study from Save the Children, and they have studied where in the world it is worse to be a child. And there's a study especially for the United States, and the studies show in the South childhood is worse than in the Northeast.
For sure.
And
for sure.
And there's a connection about the mood and the attitudes and so on.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's more comments coming in from Cale Campbell. 19 states still have paddling, corporal punishment in schools in the United States.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's like mid-age.
It is
it's like mid-age.
To think
it's
about
embarrassing.
Us, No Violence for Kids Canada, I just want to put that out there. Our work is really starting to grow. We are connecting with some people that are talking about this in the United States. And we recognize that it does take everyone to speak up and urge everybody. Social media is the way to go. So please share any comments around corporal punishment and violence for children. Retweet, recomment, share, make noise. And I know I just want to thank Cale Campbell because he's on the chat right now, and I can't say enough about where I see his name everywhere when it comes to this conversation. He's making noise, and it's great to hear. Most of those are in the South. That's right, Lucienne. So Lucienne is commenting, recognizing that most of those states that still allow violent discipline in schools are in the United States. There's a lot of concern around recognizing that, and we are seeing a lot of folks speaking up. So there's a lot of advocates that are down in the States right now that need our support. So please find them on Twitter and retweet and make friends and support their work too. That's hard work that they're doing. I think we're going to wrap up now. We are near 1 hour mark, and do you have anything final to say, Sven?
I don't know. I thought I needed. I have to have. I have to. My English is away now. Gabriella, would you translate?
Ja.
Ich dachte, ich brauche mehr Hilfe mit der Übersetzung, aber irgendwie ist es doch irgendwie aus mich rausgeflossen und ich glaube, ich war einigermaßen gut zu verstehen. Das hat mich sehr gefreut. Kannst du das übersetzen?
I thought I needed more help with my English, but in the end, it turned out that it flowed out of me more easily, and I'm satisfied enough. So that was a lucky thing. I'm happy with that.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here, Gabriella.
You're welcome.
It's wonderful to have you here.
It's great to be here.
Yes.
And maybe we have a kind of a plan, a project. Maybe Gabriella will translate my book in English. Yeah. We are on the way, but it's not sure if it works. But there are some people in the United States, some professors. They want my book in English. And Gabriella will be the translator when all works. So this session here is a kind of promotion.
Rehearsal, promotion.
Yeah.
It's so great to have you both. And I just want to say one of my favorite quotes. Anyone who helps a child in his life is a hero of mine. And that's by Fred Rogers. And I want to thank both of you for being here because you're both my hero. And anybody out there, please do like, share, and comment and keep this conversation going. There is no need for physical discipline for children, and our world needs to be a better place for everyone. So thank you, everyone. And I'm going to end the broadcast now. And
Bye.
Bye.